Thanks everybody for joining today. My name is Valerie Sims and I'm with Conduent. Conduent is the eWIC contractor for Alabama WIC, and we are excited to be here today to give you all an overview about Alabama eWIC. First off, we want to talk about the rollout schedule. Alabama WIC has entered the implementation phase of eWIC and is working hard to ensure a successful implementation. Alabama announced the official rollout schedule in written communication sent to all authorized WIC vendors on August 22nd. The rollout schedule and district map are also available on the ADPHS's website. So here is a snapshot of the rollout schedule. The pilot is going to be done in 2 phases. Pilot phase 1 starts March 4th. Pilot phase 2 starts April 1st. And the statewide rollout will begin in the Northern District on June 3rd, followed by West, Central, and Jefferson on July 1st, and then Southwestern, Mobile, and Southeastern districts on August 5th. These dates are subject to change, and we just also want to note that the rollout dates are on a Monday. So today we're going to talk about what is eWIC, what are the benefits of eWIC, what is the approved product list, integrated transaction processing, stand-aside transaction processing, vendor training, and in the discussion by any questions that you all may have. So eWIC is simply the electronic issuance, redemption, reconciliation, and payment of WIC benefits. WIC benefits are issued to a card similar to a debit card and are available during a specified time frame or benefit period. During an eWIC transaction, each item is verified against the approved product list filed to confirm it is a WIC eligible item. It is then compared to the benefit balance and the benefit period. The transaction is then sent to Conduent, where the vendor status is confirmed. It is verified against the APL data. The items are deducted from the benefit balance. The requested price is compared to the not to exceed price, and the transaction is approved or denied. On the next slide is a picture of what the Alabama eWIC card is going to look like. When participants use this card, they will only need to have the card with them and know their PIN number to redeem their benefits. Now we're going to talk about the solution benefits to eWIC. So vendors are going to see faster settlement, usually within 24 hours, sometimes a little bit longer if the transaction occurs on the weekend. The system will approve only WIC items, so it's going to eliminate a lot of the guesswork of the cashier determining whether or not an item is a WIC or non-WIC item. There's fewer administrative tasks involved. There will be no paper WIC checks to stamp. There will be no rejected food instruments. There will be a reduced risk of fraud, and the cashiers are going to spend less time at the register. The participants are going to see benefits as well. There's going to be greater flexibility in their shopping trips. They'll have ability to choose WIC foods and quantities to meet their family's needs. They're going to have tools available to them, both online and an interactive voice response system, so they could access their benefit balance and transaction history. And the online WIC card will be much more easier and convenient for the participants to use. Next, we're going to talk about the approved product list. Alabama WIC staff has been out collecting the UPCs to put together their approved product list. They have a pre-pilot food list posted at alabamapublichealth.gov/WIC, so you all could go out there to see the Alabama WIC approved items. They have a form available on that website if you find that there are food items that could be missing that need to be added to the food list. the APL file is an electronic file identifying Alabama WIC-approved foods. This file should be downloaded daily to your cash register system to ensure that you have all the WIC-approved food items in your system. Integrated vendors can obtain this file from the Conduent file transfer protocol site. Stand-beside devices are configured to automatically receive the downloads nightly. Devices must have power, be turned on, and connected to an analog phone line or wired internet connection in order to receive these daily updates. So there are a couple of different transaction processing models available to be able to accept an eWIC card, and one is integrated transaction processing. Vendors who are integrated use eWIC software to submit transactions through a certified third-party processor. The third-party processors do charge vendor fees based on the type of service selected for their store. The third-party processor is a full-service provider for transaction processing, reconciliation, and settlement for all payment types supported by the vendor. So we have found from doing some surveys and some pre-work, the large number of Alabama WIC vendors are already certified with Conduent in other states and will only require a level 3 live store buy certification. There are going to be some vendors that will require additional testing as part of the full certification process, and we will be working with those vendors to identify which ones of those are and let them know which level of testing is going to be required in order for them to be able to process eWIC on their cash register. For any vendors that will need to certify with Conduent, we will work with them to provide a test environment, test scripts, and test cards. For the certification process, except for large chains, little involvement is required from the small integrated stores, as Conduent will work with their electronic cash register service provider in order to get the testing and any type of certifications completed. We work with the third-party processors and electronic cash register providers to provide step-by-step test scripts, a separate test environment, and have technical experts available when needed for any troubleshooting that comes up during testing and the certification process. And if anyone has questions about their system or their third-party processor, we have my contact information listed here to reach out to me in case you have any questions about your system or your third-party processor. One important piece that I want to note, that if you do have questions about your system, I'm available as a resource, but also reach out to your ECR provider and get guidance from them as well. They may need for you to fill out some paperwork. You may need to get your software or hardware upgraded in order to be able to accept eWIC, and they will be able to help you with that process. On the next slide, I've got the certified third-party processors, which is First Data, Fiserv, Vantiv, and WorldPay. These are the major third-party processors that are certified for WIC processing with Conduent. On the next slide, we have listed here some of the certified electronic cash register systems that have been certified for WIC processing with Conduent: the IBM ACE system, StoreNext ISS 45, StoreNext ScanMaster, NCR Real POS model, IBM System 3200, Retail Professional, and Lock SMS software. So if you're using one of the certified TPPs and one of the certified ECR systems that we have listed here, chances are you'll be able to accept eWIC on your cash register. But again, you'll need to engage your cash register system provider to see what work will be necessary to get that enabled. We've worked with many of the large chains in Alabama, Walmart, Target, Publix, Kroger, Ingles, and Save-A-Lot. These large chains have all been certified in other states that Conduent is the eWIC processor. So here is a high-level overview of how an eWIC integrated transaction will work. The APL file is downloaded nightly to the store system. Items are scanned. There's no need to separate WIC items. The universal product codes are verified against the APL file. Items are checked against the benefit balance. The items are scanned and are transmitted to the WIC Connect system for approval. WIC Connect responds with an approval and remaining benefit balance. And once it is completed, if there are any non-WIC items remaining, the participant can pay the remaining balance with an alternate tender. So one item to note on here is depending on your system, the card swipe and PIN entry could occur at the beginning or at the end of the transaction. It doesn't always happen at the beginning. Our next transaction model that we're going to talk about is the stand-beside transaction processing. This model is available for vendors that do not have an integrated cash register system. It's often utilized by small chains or single-store merchants. There's no cost to the vendor for this equipment. The equipment maintenance and vendor support is also provided at no cost, and there's no fee to the merchant for transaction processing. With the stand-beside system, the items are going to have to be scanned twice, once at the point-of-sale machine and once on your register. The machine will take up additional counter space because in addition to the point-of-sale terminal that you see here, there's also going to be a PIN pad and a scanner. The machine does require a dedicated power and analog phone line or wired internet connection for the POS to be used. And this machine can only do WIC transactions. No other payment types could be accepted on the stand-beside machine. And just a couple of notes that integrated stores will not receive a stand-beside terminal for a backup device. During implementation, the state will follow the federal guidelines to determine the number of devices that each vendor will be authorized to receive. After statewide implementation, stand-beside devices are only provided if needed for participant access. And for this, the state is just following the federal guidelines. So for vendors to be able to use the stand-beside equipment, vendors must complete and return a Conduent vendor agreement and a W-9 form. This agreement is specific to Conduent and must be returned as soon as possible so that the equipment can be shipped and that the vendor can receive training on how to use the equipment. We can't ship the equipment until we get that agreement back. Once we get the agreement back, we'll ship the equipment. We will train the vendor on how to use the equipment. The vendor must have a working analog phone line or wired internet connection in order for Conduent to be able to complete that training. And just another item to note that failure to return the Conduent vendor agreement could result in your Alabama WIC vendor contract being terminated. So as soon as we start sending these agreements out, we ask that you get them back to us as soon as possible so we could get your equipment shipped and get you trained on how to use the equipment. Now we're going to go over the stand-beside eWIC purchase flow. With the stand-beside machine, this card holder is always going to swipe the card first. The card holder will enter his or her PIN. The cashier will scan the UPCs or enter the price lookup codes into the POS. They're also going to scan the items on their register. The cashier is going to enter or confirm the prices on the POS. The cashier will complete the transaction, and a receipt will print that has the remaining benefit balance available for the cardholder. We do offer vendor training to vendors that utilize the stand-beside POS terminal. With the equipment, they will receive a point-of-sale manual and a quick reference guide. After the vendor receives the POS and has a working analog phone line or wired internet connection, the vendor is going to call into our help desk to schedule a time for telephone-based training. Conduent will contact the vendor at the scheduled appointment time, and we will train them on all the functionality of the POS. Integrated vendors are trained by their corporate staff or their ECR provider. Questions regarding settlement or transaction processing should also be directed to their third-party processor. And just an item to note that WIC policy training will be done by the state WIC office. We are now going to open it up for questions and answers.
The conference has been unmuted.
And the conference line has been unmuted.
And Valerie, this is Stacy with the State WIC office. I'd like to say a few things before we start asking questions. I really want to urge the vendor to go to our website and review the pre-pilot food list. This is not our official APL file, but it lists all the UPC codes that we have collected to date. And it's been a while since we've been to some of your stores, and we really need your help with this because it will alleviate, we want to try to alleviate as many issues at the register when we go live. Okay. So I'm really asking.
So they all do have our original scales then. Well, I guess so. They would. They're not. Okay.
And also.
No, you don't send me anything.
I just want to point out that Conduent and your third-party processor will work with you on all your equipment needs. At the State WIC office, we're happy to answer questions, but we'll be directing you probably to Conduent or your third-party processor when it comes to your equipment needs. Like, you're wondering, do I have a register that is able to accept eWIC? That's something you need to ask your ECR or your third-party processor because I won't be able to answer that information for you.
Well, I thought it
And the last thing that I want to mention is that the State WIC office will be sending out contract amendments for eWIC prior to your rollout. So as a vendor, you'll be required to sign this contract amendment and get it back to us before you can go live with accepting eWIC transactions. So there's going to be a lot of mail outs that come to you in the next couple months, and we're just asking that you answer these timely and that you read the information thoroughly. And just know that we are here at the State WIC office, and we are more than happy to address any questions, and that we're extremely excited about this process. We're excited about the advantages that it will give to our vendor community and the benefits that it brings to the participant shopping experience. So those are just the points I wanted to reiterate on the call.
Thank you, Stacey. I also want to add, if any of the vendors have questions about their ECR system or their third-party processor, they could reach out to me as well. And I will address it in the presentation.
Hey, Valerie, would you mind muting again? And repeat what you just said, please?
Absolutely.
The conference has been muted.
I was going to say if any of the vendors have questions about their ECR system or their third-party processor, they could feel free to reach out to me. My email address is included in the presentation.
The conference has been unmuted.
And now I'm going to open it up for questions.
For those of you who are participating in the call or listening in, if you could please mute your phone unless you have a question. It would help us out a lot. There's a lot of background noise with a number of callers. Would really appreciate it if you can mute. Does anyone have any questions? Open up the floor.
Yeah, this is store 51. I have a question. The mail outs that's coming from the state, would that go to the corporate office or would that go to each individual store?
It depends on the type of mail out that it is. Sometimes we send mail outs just to the corporate office, but if it's something that impacts like the front end and the register systems and any transaction processing or training materials, those will go to each store, but it does depend on the type of communication that it is.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any
other
questions out there?
Yes, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, this is Tammy from Piggly Wiggly Store 242, Talladega, Alabama. I have a question. Whenever we start these eWIC, how will we know what they're supposed to be getting on the WIC? You know, when they come to our registers, you know?
Yeah, you're going to have that ATL file is going to be loaded into your cash register system or the same beside point of sale, depending on which option you go with. And the system is going to take care of what benefits are assigned to that participant.
Oh, okay. All right.
You won't need to worry about that.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Like we touched on earlier, everything will be approved or denied as the item is scanned on the system.
Okay, thank you.
And that is one of the benefits of eWIC is that the cashier is no longer what we refer to in the paper world, the WIC police. If it does not scan, then either there's a couple of scenarios. It may be WIC approved, but just not in our APL file, or it may not be a WIC approved item, but the cashier is no longer the WIC police. That is one of the benefits of eWIC.
Should make checkout go a lot faster too.
It'll definitely speed up the process. Other questions?
Hey. Yes, ma'am. I have a question.
Okay.
I think I heard someone say they had a question.
Yes, ma'am. My name's Amber. I'm actually calling from office store number 54 in Orange Beach.
Thank you.
What?
I'm having a hard time hearing you.
That's fine.
They already know.
What happens when we're trying to override something that we know is WIC approved, but it won't stand for for that eWIC purchase? Are they just going to be are they not going to be able to get that item, or is there a way that we at the store level are going to be able to override it?
No, you can't override any of the items. If you feel that it should be a WIC approved item and it's not, you'll need to go out to the state's website and get the form and fill that form out so they could review it and either approve it to be added to the APL file, or they'll deny the request. There'll be no more overriding. The system's going to take care of everything.
Yep, I can read it.
Okay, thank you.
I'm
You're
done.
welcome.
Again, if I could request that if you're not asking a question, if you're just listening, if you would please mute your phone to reduce the background noise, please. Thank you.
Another point that I wanted to bring up, no one's asked this question yet, but this has come up before. For a time period, there will be a mix of paper vouchers and cards until WIC is fully rolled out statewide. You could continue to see the paper vouchers for a time period. And you'll continue to accept those.
This is Angie at Walmart. How are you all today?
Hey, Angie, how are you doing?
Good. Just wondering, for the integrated vendors, is there any consideration being given to activating the system statewide rather than waiting for each rollout?
So I think if I heard your question, I heard there was a lot of background noise, but is the state going to want the integrated store to turn WIC on statewide after level 3 certification. Did I get that or?
I'm just wondering if there's consideration being given to activating it statewide instead of waiting for each rollout time frame to occur.
Stacey, did you hear her question? She's wanting to know if they could turn WIC on statewide after the level 3 certification in the pilot, or do you want them to wait as each one rolls out?
We are going to allow that option to vendors that we consider are statewide and part of a corporation, and they'll be notified in writing of that option. If that option is available to them, they'll be notified in writing.
Okay, thank you.
This is Sharon, and I work at Scottsboro Foodland in Scottsboro. And what about the fresh produce items? How will that work with the PLU file?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I don't know if anyone else, Jeff or Stacey, heard that question. Can you repeat it, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is Sharon, and I work at Scottsboro Foodland. And I was just curious as to how the fresh fruits and vegetables in the PLU file will be added there.
Okay, this is a question about the fresh fruits and vegetables. The fresh fruits and vegetables are going to be added or will be included in the APL file. The PLU code for each of the fresh fruits and veggies will be in there.
Okay. What about cut fruit? Will that be, is there a universal code for that as well?
Stacey, what's going to be your position on the cut up produce and produce items?
I'm sorry, I'm having a really hard time hearing. Was there a question posed to me about fresh fruits and vegetables?
Yes, Stacey. The question was, how is the cut-up fruit and vegetables going to be handled?
There'll be a code that the operating rules that govern eWIC, they state that you go with the most prevalent item in the bunch. So if you have 90% apples, then you're going to code it to apples. But there'll be more information to come regarding fresh fruits and vegetables and educating the vendors on how to map.
Okay, thank you.
So, Valerie, I have a question for you. If an independent vendor wants to go ahead and get their system ready, should they be able to do that now, or should they wait till contact is made from you all regarding what they need to do?
They could go ahead and start.
This was a phone-in question.
Sure. No, they could go ahead and reach out to their ECR provider now to start the process. I mean, we will be in contact with everyone and with all of the ECR providers that have already made contact with the ECR providers. But they could definitely go ahead and start those discussions now.
Okay, thank you.
Again, I would like to request that if you're not actively asking a question, if you would please mute your phone to cut down on the background noise. It would help greatly.
Do we have other questions out there?
Any other questions?
This is Angie at Walmart again. Do we have an idea of when the test system might be ready?
I don't have that information in front of me right now, Jeff. I don't know if you have that ready or have that in front of you or not.
Angie, we can talk offline about that.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions? Stacey, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, just to for the vendors to stay alert and watch the mailings and check our website for important updates. And we're excited about the future, what the future holds for eWIC.
And also for reference, if anyone wants to go back and review this presentation and the recording of this will also be available on the state's website. Right, Stacy?
Yes, sir. We will get it out.
Great.
Posted.
Oh. But you won't use the bike station.
Stacy, I think we can close. I mean, Valerie. I think we can
I'm
close.
sorry, what? Are we ready to
I think
close
we can
now?
close. Yeah.
Okay. No more questions? Thanks, everybody, for their time today. We appreciate it.